Hi students, today we shall discuss the topic natural resources. When you go out of your house and walk on the road, what you see? You see varieties of plants, people walking on the road, people driving in the vehicles. You see birds, insects, maybe cattle, maybe buffaloes. You also see different types of buildings, monuments around you. So these are called as the resources. So let us see what are the characteristic features of resources. Sum total of all material components of the environment, both biotic and abiotic, constitute the natural resources. Only that part of nature which can be of some use to human being in meeting their needs is counted as resources. Resources are foundations of power and wealth. The richness of a country is determined with the amount of resources, the minerals, the forest, the agricultural lands do they have. Human survival, growth and development depend on resources. So our survival, our development depends upon the resources we do come across. Resources and developments are interdependent. So development depend upon resources and resources provide the raw materials for economic development. Coming into different types of resources is natural resource. The second one is cultural resource. Third one is human resource. Cultural resource is also otherwise known as the man-made resources. Natural resources is of two types. One is abiotic or the non-living resources, and the second one is biotic or living resources. Abiotic resources in our environment includes soil, water, air, minerals, etc. Biotic resources include plants, animals, etc. Coming into the cultural or man-made resources, it includes the knowledge we have gained, the experience we get over the years from one generation to the other, and the technology we developed based on the knowledge and experience that involves tools, techniques, machines, buildings, monuments that we develop. Then the third one is called as human resource, which includes human being in their number. What is the population size of a country is called as its human resource. It is not only the number, it is the quality of the people. How many people are educated, how many of them are engineers, how many of them are technicians, are health personnel. So the quality of the people also determine the human resource. On the basis of the durability, how long one resource stays or persists, they have been classified into two categories. First one is inexhaustible resource, second one is exhaustible resource. Inexhaustible resource is the category of resource which is available in plentifully with consumption. It is never exhausted, it is never vanished. It includes solar power, wind power, air, which are present plentifully. Exhaustible resources are again of two types. One is called renewable and the second one is non-renewable. Renewable resources include timber or wood, the fish, the wildlife, the soil, the groundwater. These resources we can regenerate. They are renewable. We can regenerate as and when they are consumed comfortably. The non-renewable resources such as coal, petroleum, minerals are having in limited quantities, and once it is consumed, it cannot be regenerated. It is finished forever. So these are called the non-renewable resources. We shall discuss the life support system, which is a major component of the natural resources. The surface of the earth crust is made up of rocks. This is called the lithosphere. The air which is present just like a blanket covering the earth's surface is called as the atmosphere. And the major part of the earth's surface is covered with water, oceans and seas. They form the hydrosphere. So hydrosphere, atmosphere and lithosphere, the point where they unite and interact, they form the biosphere. So biosphere is the light supporting zone, and this provides the base or the substratum for the growth and multiplication, reproduction of plants and animals. Let us discuss the first support system is the soil. What is a soil? The upper fertile layer of the earth crust is called as the soil on which the plants do grow. This soil is made up of sand particles, dead organic particles known as humus, and also microbes such as bacteria and also some living organisms like earthworms. How the soil is formed? It takes lakhs and millions of years for the soil to be formed. Soil is formed from the earth crust which is made up of rocks. The rocks are degraded by physical, chemical and biological means into small particles. When there is sun, repeated cooling and heat in the night and day, that creates cracks on the surface of the rocks. Rocks breaks. And when it rains, water percolates or passes into the holes or cracks that has appeared on the surface of the rocks. Winter season, this water freezes and expands, and that again breaks the rocks. Sometimes some plants, they grow on the surface of the rock and penetrate through their roots. They also help in breaking. Some small plants like lichens and mosses, they grow on the surface of the rocks and decompose it by chemically putting some acids into it. So the rock breaks into small pieces. Rocks are also removed by when the water stream flows over it and bring to the downstream. By repeated expansion and contraction, subsequently flowing downward, the rock breaks into small sand particles. These sand particles, when mixed with organic matter, dead organic matter, which is formed by the decomposition of dried leaves, dead animals, waste from different sources, when they mix, the soil is formed. And this creates an environment for the microbial activity, for microbes, and such as bacteria, protozoans, algae, they grow here. And also the earthworms, they help in making the soil fertile. The fertility of the soil is determined by the amount of humus or the organic matter present in it. Soil is formed by mixing the sand particles with the humus particles, which are nothing but the dead decomposed organic matters. More the humus, more the microorganisms such as bacteria, protozoans, and also animals like earthworms. So the fertility of the soil is determined by the amount of humus present. Usually the fertile soils are dark or black in color, and we see this fertile soil in the gardens, in agricultural fields. So this is the sand particles where there is no humus. There is no humus. It has been, the sand particles have been produced by breaking the rocks and being washed away in the downstream in the river. Then coming into the soil, this is the soil which has been produced by sand with sand when mixed with the humus. Sand and humus, when they are mixed, it makes the soil very fertile. It allows the growth of the microorganisms and organisms such as earthworms. If you look to the red soil, it is mostly made up of pebbles and stones. This is not black in color, but it is mostly reddish in color. It is found in case of in hilly areas. The water holding capacity of this fertile soil is more than the sand as well as the red soil. This provides support not only for microbes to multiply, but also helps in the growth of the agricultural crops. But sometimes the soil is also getting polluted by addition of excess fertilizers as well as pesticides into the soil. Sometimes toxic chemicals flowing out of the industries, they mix with the soil and make the soil toxic. With the pollution of the soil, the microbial activity in the soil slows down or the microbes do die because of the toxic effect. In that case, the soil loses its fertility. So all efforts should be made to maintain the fertility of the soil. Sometimes because of excess rain or excess wind, the soil fertility is lost. That is called as the soil erosion. In soil erosion, when there is heavy rain on the plain surface of the soil, the water moves or takes away or leaches the fertility of the soil. Only the rock, barren rock remains here. But if the soil surface is covered with green vegetation or grasses, the roots present, they cover the soil and reduce the soil erosion or prevent the soil erosion. Soil fertility is retained and erosion is minimized. So always we must try to maintain the soil fertility and also minimize the soil erosion through planting green plants on the top of the soil. Then we shall come to the water as the resource. After soil, we shall discuss the water. You know, water is a very wonderful liquid. There will be no life in the absence of water. Sources of water on the planet Earth are various types. About 75% of the area on the surface of the planet Earth is covered with water. Oceans, seas, they form the bulk of the saline water. Rivers, ponds, lakes, they form the fresh water. There are water freezed on the surface of the hills, tall mountains, and also polar region. These are the freezed waters. They form the ice caps. There are other types of water which you are very much familiar, that is called the underground water. That after rainfall, water percolates into the soil and get deposited under the soil. That is called the groundwater. Because of increase in population, increase in demand, the water consumption is growing day by day. And people are suffering for lack of adequate water in the summer season. And government is making, all efforts are being made how to conserve the water, the rainwater, for use in different times. The water is very much useful to us. Water is useful for all our cellular activities. Water helps for transportation of nutrients from one part of the body to the other part. Also, it keeps the cells turgid so that we keep alive. So without water, no life can exist on the surface of the planet Earth. The number of living organisms, the types of living organisms do depend on the amount of water available to them. Where there is more water, you will find more types of living organisms present throughout the year. The water sometimes gets polluted because the sewage which comes out from the cities, from the urban areas mixed with the water bodies and pollutes the water. Similarly, the effluents, the toxic chemicals coming out from the industries mix with the soil and water bodies and makes the water very toxic. Sometimes people throw the unwanted items they consume or the leftover items into the water bodies, and they also contaminate the water and kills the living organisms. Sometimes the temperature of the water bodies goes down because of effluents being added. So water sources are always being found to be under stress. So polluted water is very much contaminated and it causes a variety of diseases such as cholera, dysentery, sometimes jaundice and many other diseases. Now we shall see that how do the pure water and the polluted water look like. This is the pure water which is collected from our water supply in the cities, supply line or the tap water. This water is the polluted water which has been collected from the sewage water that is flowing in the cities. Now to see the pollutants present, we'll take a funnel and put a simple blotting paper folded on it and pour this contaminated or the polluted water. We'll see the water is coming slowly, and on the surface of this paper or the blotting paper, the sediments or the pollutants mixed with the soil particles, debris, they have settled. They have settled slowly. They have settled slowly. See, this is the contaminants or the pollutants which are present. You can see on the surface of the blotting paper. These are the contaminants which have been found from the surface, from the water, polluted water. These are dark sediments which are found from this water. So this pollution is creating a lot of problems for us. So we have to take all our measures to keep the water clean for our drinking purpose. Then we shall come to air as the resource. You know, the air which forms as a blanket or atmosphere on the surface of the planet Earth is a mixture of many gases such as nitrogen, carbon dioxide, oxygen, maybe hydrogen and many vapors, water vapors. And this nitrogen is present about 78% of the atmospheric gases. Carbon dioxide is only 0.04% and oxygen is about 21%. This carbon dioxide, though it's present in only 0.04%, it is increasing day by day. The carbon dioxide comes from respiration. When you take oxygen, all living organisms including plants, when they take oxygen in the process of respiration, they take oxygen and give out the carbon dioxide that comes to the atmosphere. Then when there is big forest fire, the plants are burnt and carbon dioxide is added. Similarly, when there is burning of fuels, maybe motor vehicles, maybe industries, so these burning of fuels, they also add carbon dioxide to the atmosphere. So to minimize, nature is taking care to minimize the carbon dioxide. So in the process of photosynthesis, plants are taking carbon dioxide and releasing oxygen. So there is a balance between the carbon dioxide as well as the oxygen level in the atmosphere. But in spite of this, the carbon dioxide level is increasing because of environmental pollution. When there is pollution in the environment because of burning of the fossil fuels such as petroleum, diesel, or running of industries, oxides of nitrogen and sulfur come out. These oxides of nitrogen and sulfur, when mixed with the water vapors in the atmosphere, they make acids such as nitric acid, maybe sulfuric acid, that come to the soil and contaminate the soil as well as the water bodies. Besides these, sometimes the particles or the shoots from the carbon dioxide, carbon particles, they come into the air and pollute it. Sometimes this polluted air, when mixed with water or water vapor, when the water vapor mixed with these gases, they form a smoke in the environment. So that reduces the visibility of the persons moving. So this is all affecting our day-to-day life and creating many diseases. The atmospheric pollution brings many diseases to the human beings, such as allergy, hypertension, burning of eyes, loss of hearing, and creating a lot of problems. So we must take care to keep our life support system, soil, water, air in a very clean form for ourselves as well as for other living organisms, including plants and animals. So now we shall summarize what we have discussed today. We have discussed what are resources and what are natural resources, how the natural resources are being consumed, what is biosphere, what are the abiotic and biotic factors, what is this life support system. We have discussed how soil is formed, how soil is very useful to you, and pollution of soil. We have discussed about the water, sources of water, usefulness of water for the living organisms, water contamination, water pollution. Then we have discussed the air. Different constituents of the air. Air is a mixture of various types of gases, and how carbon dioxide and oxygen are useful to us. We take oxygen, release the carbon dioxide. Plants take the carbon dioxide and release the oxygen. So almost a balance is maintained. And we have discussed finally the pollution of the air because of increase in carbon dioxide and other toxic gases. Now I will ask you few questions. What is the natural resource? Components of the natural environment that includes biotic, that is living, and abiotic, that is non-living factors form the natural resource. What is biosphere? Biosphere is the life supporting zone that harbors plants, animals, and microbes in it. It is the point of interaction among lithosphere, hydrosphere, and atmosphere. Question 3. How soil is polluted? Soil is polluted by addition of excessive fertilizers, pesticides, and other toxic chemicals that kill the microbes or reduce their activity in the soil. Question 4. Why water is important for us? Water is a wonderful liquid. for all cellular activities in living bodies, transfer of nutrients from one part to the other part, and keeping cell turgid to keep us alive water plays a very important role. So after discussing this, we may discuss in the coming class how these life support system constituents such as soil, water, air are maintained in a circular fashion for their sustainability, for their long lasting in the nature. So we shall discuss in the next class how these constituents are being supplied for a long time for the benefit of the man, animals and plants. Thank you very much.